Hello, everybody. Welcome to Weather on the Go. Hope everybody's having a great Wednesday morning. Happy middle of the week here, everybody. And there's a little bit to talk about here in this video. We got severe weather here today and also on your Thursday tomorrow. And I'll also be outlining the kind of the prospects of another major heat wave that will be reestablishing itself across much of the country as we head into this weekend, Father's Day weekend, and into early next week here as well. And then I'll also be outlining the tropics here as a new named storm in the Eastern Pacific is named here as well. So welcome back, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great Wednesday morning out there. We do have severe weather as we head into our day today, so I did want to outline that here real quick and kind of generally look at the setup here for today and tomorrow for our severe weather threats. So the Storm Prediction Center's Day 1 outlook here for today has an enhanced risk of severe weather, a level 3 out of 5, that enhanced risk from upper peninsula here of Michigan, getting down through much of Wisconsin, especially centered across central and southern Wisconsin, and then getting into southeastern Michigan, or southeastern Minnesota rather, and into portions there of northeastern Iowa. Then you have a slight risk surrounding that here from upper lower Michigan, getting down through portions of central Michigan, southern and southeastern portions there of Wisconsin, including the Milwaukee area, which was hard hit just a day or so ago, and then down through here portions of northwestern Illinois into eastern Iowa and far northeastern Missouri. This does include the Davenport Quad Cities area in Iowa and also the Rockford, Illinois area here as well. And then I did want to note another slight risk for severe weather extending from portions here of the Carolinas and Virginia down through portions of Georgia, including the Atlanta metro, and getting down here into portions of south central Alabama, northwest Florida here, the Panama City area, getting over here toward the Mobile, Alabama area as well, with a marginal risk extending all the way up here into portions of the Mid-Atlantic and portions of New England. So looking at the kind of the all this individual threats for today, we do have a significant 30% wind risk here across northeastern Iowa, southeastern Minnesota, getting into central and southern Wisconsin, and then that 30% kind of extends all the way up into northern Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan. But in this hatched area, the 30% hatched area, we could have winds over 75 miles per hour here as we head through the day today, and especially into this evening. And then that 15% surrounding that here, and then that 5% extending down toward the Kansas City area. You got that 15% wind risk here across the southeast and up through the Carolinas and Virginia. And then here the hail risk. You have a 30% hatched hail risk across northeastern Iowa, southeastern Minnesota, getting through much of Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan there. And that's where you could have a pretty decent shot at some 2-inch or larger hail, golf ball sized or larger type hailstones. We could have hailstones up to baseball size across portions of Wisconsin as we head through the late afternoon and the evening today. So that is something to definitely keep in mind. But we also do have that 15% hail risk here surrounding that here, getting down towards very close to the Chicagoland area, getting into northwestern Illinois, eastern Iowa here in far northeast Missouri. Also a 15% hail risk across portions of western South Carolina through much of Georgia, getting into southeastern portions there of Alabama and northwest Florida as well. And then of kind of more concern is that we do have a 10% hatched tornado risk across portions of northeastern Iowa, southeastern Minnesota, getting through much of Wisconsin and up toward portions of the Green Bay area into the UP of Michigan. This covers Madison, Wisconsin, Green Bay, getting up toward Baraboo, the Wisconsin Dells, getting down toward the Dubuque, Iowa area here and over towards portions here of northeastern Iowa, southeastern portions of Minnesota, close to the Rochester, Minnesota area as well. So that will be something to watch. And then even that 2% and that 5% tornado risk here kind of extending outside that toward Rockford, Illinois, Davenport, Iowa, Quad Cities, getting down towards Kirksville, Missouri, and then getting up here into portions of northern Michigan as well, including Gaylord, Michigan, which was hard hit by a tornado here several weeks ago. So that is something to watch as we head through the day and night tonight. So why is this all coming together? Well, we do have a lot of warm temperatures continuing. We have a cold front extending from Wisconsin and the upper peninsula of Michigan from kind of around central Lake Superior down through central and western Wisconsin, and then extending down farther to the south here into central and eastern Iowa, and then into portions of the central plains. Along and ahead of that, a lot of energy will be building. We have temperatures surging well into the 90s again, heat index values reaching 100 to 110. You got, those heat advisories, those excessive heat warnings do continue across much of the portions of the Midwest and into the Ohio Valley. So a lot of heat is still in play, and you have all that moisture continuing with the upper 60s to mid 70 dew points, and you got the pooling of the dew points along that cold front. So we could have locally mid 70 dew points, and then those dew points drop off into the 50s and 60s behind that front very quickly into western Iowa and central Iowa here as we head toward later this afternoon. But generally, like I was talking about, you have all that energy well ahead of that cold front. We got in the yellows here, you have 3,000 joule per kilogram instability extending up into Wisconsin, western Illinois, eastern Iowa, and some pockets here even of those maroon red colors here, which indicates locally 4,000 joules per kilogram instability, especially as you get down towards portions here of the Central Plains. Well, a couple pockets are possible across eastern Iowa, southwestern Wisconsin, central Wisconsin as we head toward later in the day today. And that will yield a pretty high supercell composite numbers here across portions of southern central Wisconsin, over toward the Green Bay area, Milwaukee here included, all the way back here into the Wisconsin Dells. Here's the pretty high values: Baraboo, Wisconsin, Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, and then getting down to the Dubuque, Iowa area, Rockford, Illinois, and then portions of the Davenport Quad Cities, getting down to Kirksville, Missouri. Definitely got to watch for some supercell potential for these storms as we head toward later today. So let's kind of look at the reflectivity of what the models are showing. This is one model run, but I do think it paints a pretty good idea of what the radar could look like as we head toward later this afternoon and through the evening and even into the overnight hours. So we got some ongoing convection across, much of Minnesota, much of northern and northwestern Wisconsin, extending down through Iowa and eastern portions of Nebraska as we head through the early morning hours here today. This will continue to kind of push to the northeast, kind of parallel to that cold front, as this cold front is very slow to move to the east, kind of stalling out during the morning hours. But as we head toward the afternoon, this cold front will start to say, hey, we're going to move to the east. So all these storms are going to start trudging its way to the east and sweeping eastward with this cold front as we head toward the late afternoon hours. With all that destabilization, we could have some bowing structures, even some embedded intense supercells, southwest Wisconsin around the Prairie du Chien area, La Crosse, Wisconsin, getting up toward Baraboo there, the Wisconsin Dells, extending down toward northeastern Iowa. Definitely got to watch for some supercells, and that will only develop more into a squall line from portions of the Green Bay area and portions there of the upper peninsula of Michigan all the way down through the Madison area, portions there maybe Freeport, Illinois, you get Rockford, Illinois down there, and then the Quad Cities here, and then more of a broken line as you get down towards portions of northern Missouri and towards southeastern Kansas, but still some isolated strong to severe weather down in those areas. But the most intense weather will be along this consolidated line across eastern Wisconsin, southern Wisconsin into northwestern Illinois, and this will continue to kind of sweep across northern Illinois, portions of eastern and southeastern Wisconsin, bringing that damaging wind threat, the large hail threat, and that tornado threat as well. And especially across Wisconsin, you could have those EF2 to EF5 strength tornadoes, the 75 plus mile hour wind gusts, and even that 2-inch or larger hail as we head through this afternoon and this evening as well. And then this line will kind of weaken really ever before it gets to the Chicagoland area here and toward the Peoria, Illinois area, and getting up towards portions, of Lansing and down toward Kalamazoo. This will really start to weaken into the overnight hours. Then as we head into Thursday, we have a level 2 slight risk of severe weather. The Storm Prediction Center's Day 2 outlook shows this for New York State, getting down through much of Pennsylvania, northern West Virginia, eastern portions there of Ohio, getting into portions of Maryland, then that marginal risk extending southward toward the eastern Tennessee Valley, portions of the southeast here as well. Another kind of marginal risk here extending across the mid-Missouri Valley into the lower Illinois Valley here as we head into our Thursday as well. You got that wind risk, you got the hail risk, but you also have that tornado risk across the mid-Missouri Valley into the Illinois Valley there at 2%. You got a higher 5% risk here for tornadoes across portions of New York State, getting down into Pennsylvania there, and then that 2% here kind of surrounding that in eastern Ohio, northern West Virginia, getting into northern Virginia, and then portions here of Maryland as well. Looking at the setup here on Thursday, we have a lot of warm air moving to the east here with that kind of cold front switch, pushing to the east. We have a lot of, low to mid 70 dew points will be just widespread across portions of the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast, especially interior New England here as we head toward late Thursday afternoon, and that should yield some pretty strong instability. Those yellows, 3,000, those reds and maroon colors here, 4,000, even some of those whites and grays showing up to 5,000 joule per kilogram instability can be expected as we head towards Thursday afternoon, and that's where you can see some supercells here right along the lake here, Lake Erie. Definitely have to watch that as we head towards the Lake Erie areas right along the lakefront there, and then kind of surging to the south with all this instability. Could have some embedded supercells with some tornadoes in there as well. So as we head through the day on Thursday, you got the morning activity kind of moving to the south and east here, and then the atmosphere will start to recharge itself here across portions of Pennsylvania and western New York State. And as it does so, you can get some hints here along the Lake Erie. You can definitely see some very strong thunderstorms starting to develop late afternoon. These will really start to explode explode as we head towards the dinner time frame and then push to the south, kind of propagate southward with kind of a horizontal squall line that will move to the south with that better instability, and that will make its way to the mid-Atlantic here, portions of northern Virginia, West Virginia, and over toward Maryland here, including the Washington, D.C. area, getting over towards Dover, Delaware, portions here of Charleston, West Virginia. Definitely got to watch that as we head into, the overnight hours into Friday morning. Just in general, over the next 2 days, you can see where the active pattern will be setting up across the East Coast. The Northeast could have, rainfall amounts of about a quarter up to about an inch of rain. Some pretty heavy amounts across Wisconsin here with that big squall line moving through, upwards of potentially in localized spots, upwards of 2 inches of rain here for some of those storms. And then across the mid-Missouri Valley here, up to around an inch or so, an inch and a quarter of rainfall as we head through that time frame as well. Also with some of the monsoon here kind of continuing across New Mexico, eastern Arizona, getting up toward Colorado, could have some spotty rainfall here. About a quarter, half inch of rain can be expected across those areas as well the next 2 days. As we head towards the end of June here, for June 20th through the 24th, the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, the Climate Prediction Center is putting out above normal temperatures are very likely, if not expected, across much of the southern plains, the Dixie Valley region, and then getting up through the central and northern plains, the Midwest, portions of the Tennessee Valley here as well. You got another trough coming in off the Pacific Northwest here, kind of meandering across the Seattle area. And then you got another trough here over to the northeast, kind of meandering around the Augusta, Maine area into portions of New England here as we head through the third week in June. And then underneath that ridge, you know the drill. You got, below normal precipitation expected across Texas over toward Dixie Valley into portions of the Tennessee Valley, the mid-Missouri Valley here. We got that active northern stream jet. We definitely got to watch for some complexes of storms diving down here across portions of the northern plains and the upper Midwest and Great Lakes here in the next week or so. Also, that monsoon season does continue across portions of Four Corners, and then another kind of dry spell across portions of the Intermountain West toward the West Coast here during the June 20th through 24th time frame. And even as you extend toward the very final days of June, the June 22nd through the 28th time frame, the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, the Climate Prediction Center did put out as well, still kind of having some staying power, a lot of heat across portions of the center of the country into the southeast, and then you got that trough continuing across the Seattle area into the Pacific Northwest. You still got that trough kind of spinning around here in the New England area as well, and then you got those near normal temperatures where you have some of that rainfall with that monsoon across portions of western New Mexico into eastern Arizona during that time frame as well, and that's signaling still above normal precipitation across the Four Corners, so that is some good news. But underneath that ridge, continued below normal precipitation all the way through towards the end of June as we head towards the early kind of opening days of July. But looking at the upper level heights, this is kind of where you see the red, where you have the ridge. You got to have winds coming out of the southwest here aloft and then kind of diving down to the southeast. That's where you see that trough across the New England area, and then a more substantial trough, or shall I say, across the west coast. And this will continue here as we head towards the Father's Day weekend. Into the Father's Day weekend, we got that trough starting to deepen across the New England area, another trough deepening across the southwest and the west coast. And then the massive ridge just goes all the way up into southern and central Canada here during this period as well, with on Father's Day itself. Pretty strong trough diving down here off the northeast coast, so we'll have to watch that for some rainy weather over there. Also kind of a weakening trough across the Pacific Northwest, but in between, another major heat wave is expected, and that will only continue well into early and middle portion of next week as well. And let's show you that here. Friday, June 17th, we got a lot of lower 100 degree temperatures across the central southern plains, and that will expand northward here as we head towards portions of the northern and central plains down through Texas here, and even across the Gulf Coast into Florida. A lot of lower 100s and 90s expected, and then here you got a lot of those 100 degree temperatures all the way up to the Canadian border, potentially lower 100s for southern Canada as we head towards Father's Day itself. So some very hot temperatures, and all that humidity will be coming back, and that will start to surge eastward into the Midwest and the Ohio Valley as we head toward early next week, and that will only continue as we head toward Tuesday with multiple 100 degree temperatures, probably some more record tying or record breaking high temperatures, maybe even some record breaking lows across the south here. So that will be something to watch as we head into early and middle portion of next week. But like I said, underneath that ridge, some drier weather is expected. You got that very active storm track across southern Canada will be continuing with that above normal precipitation. You got that active monsoon season across the four corners. Then you got a little bit of some action here in the Western Gulf, and that is something we'll talk about here in a minute. But you do see as we head towards late June that the northern and northeastern periphery of that heat wave starts to break down, and we could have more storm complexes with potentially some more severe weather across the northern plains, the upper Midwest, and getting toward the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes region towards that 24th through about July 1st time frame. So that will be something to watch. Now turning our attention to the tropics here, we have a storm that is possible here, has about a 40 to 60% chance of developing within the next 5 days across portions here of the Western Caribbean, getting in towards the southern Gulf of Mexico, kind of turning more toward land in this area in the next 5 days. So that will be something to monitor. You have a brand new named storm, a tropical storm here, Blas, I believe it's called, across portions of southern and southwestern Mexico, and this will be pushing to the north and west. We got another interested area here, a 40 to 60% chance of development of another storm behind that, right on its heels, moving to the west-northwest here of the southern portions here of Mexican border and into portions there off the Central American coast, and that will be pushing to the west-northwest here as well with a 40 to 60% chance of development in 5 days as well. Looking more closely at Tropical Storm Blas, right off here the southwestern Mexican coast, deep convection here is showing up with those bright whites, grays, and those pinks and purples here. Some very high tops with these thunderstorms here, and pretty organized as well. So that is why it did get the name Tropical Storm Blas here, the second named storm in the eastern Pacific Basin. And this storm will be pushing to the north and west and the west-northwest here, over the open waters here all the way through to Father's Day weekend here, ultimately getting well offshore and kind of moving away from land here towards that Father's Day weekend. It is expected to strengthen into a hurricane here sometime during the day today, so that is something to watch during the afternoon hours and the evening hours, and stay a hurricane till potentially all the way through Friday morning. So that is something to watch, as we could have kind of a Category 1, maybe Category 2 hurricane. So that is something to definitely watch here. Right now, it is currently moving to the north at 5 miles per hour with a sustained wind of 50 miles per hour here. So that is something to watch, the next few days. But this will be moving away from land, so that is something, something to consider. But looking at the tropical storm force wind speed probabilities, most of the tropical storm force winds will be off land, so maybe some low end probabilities across the western and southwestern Mexican coast there, hugging up with maybe some low end tropical storm winds, maybe just some wave action here across the coast there. But generally, this will be moving away from land largely. And with this, the warmer waters continuing here, where this is continued to be, you have the yellows and oranges here, that's where you have the warmer than normal waters. So that will be something to watch. Also here, we'll have some cooler than normal waters across portions of the Caribbean, getting into the southern Gulf, so that may be interrupting some of the storm development there, but we'll continue to watch that in the next few days. Generally, looking at Tropical Storm Blas, my very dry air in here. You can have this, moving up into Category 1 strength, maybe Category 2 strength with some of the models are showing, but then kind of weakening into a tropical storm or depression as we head toward the Father's Day weekend and toward early next week. I do appreciate you watching here. A lot to talk about. You got the severe weather, that major heat wave, and then those tropics here really starting to heat up toward the middle and end of June here. Do be sure to like my video, give me a thumbs up, leave any comments, questions below, and remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, as I will have more weather-related content as we head into our Thursday as well. So do stay tuned to that and turn all notifications on, as I will be having that on our Thursday morning. So do be sure to tune in for that. And I am sorry for my my coughing issues. A lot of dry air in here, but with the air conditioning on, because I am in a major heat wave as well. So I do have to have the air conditioning on, and there's a lot of dry air in here, but I do apologize. But like I said, be sure to like my video, give me a thumbs up, leave any comments, questions below. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, turn your notifications on, alert friends and family here to kind of join on here as well, as I will be eventually doing a live stream toward the end of June here, sometime after Father's Day weekend, covering more severe weather events and any like landfalling tropical storms or hurricanes in the U.S. or near the U.S. As we head toward the end of June, starting around that time frame. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope everybody has a great Wednesday out there today.